This is KCC Live.
Hi, you're listening to Amy. This is Out There. You're listening on KCC Live. Our show today, the theme is Pride. Oh, I've been dying to do a Pride show for ages. Anyway, as per, you're going to hear loads of different voices today, loads of different input and loads of different opinions. And you can get involved with us, get in touch. You can Facebook us, search us Out There. You can have a look on the KCC website. You can even give us an email, amy@kcclive.com. So stay tuned because there's more after this.
This is KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back to our Pride show. You're listening to Amy on KCC Live, and this is Out There. So, first off, let's just start at the start. Pride. So, I started by asking people I knew, pretty much everyone that I have bumped into in the last 2 weeks, what is Pride to them? What do they think of Pride? I have asked people who are LGBT+, I have asked people who are not LGBT+, I have asked people who are undecided, unsure, don't really know what Pride is, and I got such a mixed reaction. I got the, it's a party, it's a chance to get drunk, it's a chance to listen to music and have fun, which I can agree with. I got there, it's a protest, it's rooted in things like Stonewall, you know, it's there to raise awareness, to show that people still don't have equal rights. I also got the Pride, what's that? And I got the, do you know, I don't really know what it's for, but I do like that everyone goes and has a big party. So there is that as well. And there was also a few interesting opinions of, I don't really think we need Pride. And this came from people who were LGBT+ and who weren't. And I ended up with a little bit of an interesting debate on the old Facebook. And I must admit, it was nice to see like another side of that, because whilst my own personal opinion is that I think we do still need Pride. We need to show awareness, and you know, it's great to celebrate diversity, celebrate that people exist who are on the LGBT spectrum. You know, it's needed, in my opinion. You know, people around the world still don't have equal rights to LGBT. They still can't get married around the world. They're still not recognised as parents. You know, some places you can get beat up just for coming out as LGBT+. And in my opinion, that's why we need Pride. Plus, it's a celebration. You know, it's a chance for people to enjoy themselves, let their hair down, be who they want to be. Like, I've been to quite a few Pride celebrations now, and one of the things I love about it is just people just get to be themselves. And you see so many people sort of outside their comfort zones, but loving it, really completely losing their inhibitions and just being who they want to be. And I really love that about it. I love that it gives people that freedom to celebrate, and I love that it helps people raise awareness and be like, this is who I am. These are the things that are wrong. And, you know, bring things to the forefront. Right, anyway, so more on that after this, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Pride marches, and then we're going to talk about history. Stay tuned.
This is KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There. This is our Pride show on KCC Live. We are in Pride Month. June is Pride Month. Now, it's a bit of an iffy one. Basically, June's Pride Month for America, but we still sort of call it Pride Month. But actually, most of the UK Prides are in July. So Liverpool Pride is the last weekend in July. I will be there. I will be wearing all of the rainbows and flying my flag and supporting the people that need supporting and being the best ally I can be, as well as a member of the LGBT+ community. I am very excited about it, in case you can't tell. I really do love Pride. It's just something about it. It's just such a lovely celebration. But I will also be marching. So what is supposed to be the point of Pride, and granted it's kind of got a little hijack for the big party the last few decades or so, but I'm still okay with that as long as the Pride is there and the march is still going on. So the march itself is a chance for people to be like, we're here, you know, to quote the age-old adage, we're here, we're queer, get used to it. I know some people don't like the word queer. I'm kind of a bit iffy with it, but I'm all about, you know, taking away the power. So yeah, okay, I can live with it. So we're here, we're queer, get used to it. And the point of Pride is we're here, we're visible. We haven't always got equal rights. We still don't. Around the world, we definitely still don't. let's be aware of it. The same as things like the Black Lives Matter march, exactly the same thing. You know, something's broke, we need to fix it, let's raise awareness. So it's a very important part of Pride. It is the most important part of Pride, in my opinion. You know, next to the inclusivity and people being allowed to be themselves, it's important. And I've been on quite a few Pride marches now. I've never been to one outside of Liverpool. It's on my bucket list. I really want to make London at some point because that one looks amazing. But I found that you get mixed reactions. So you get people who are there for the fun of it, and you know, they're just like, yeah, along for the ride, and I'm all for that. You showing your support, fantastic. There's people who are like, do you know what? I have been through this. There's older people as well, older generations as well, who are like, you know, we seen Section 28. We seen gay rights being decriminalised. You know, we seen gay marriage come into it, civil partnerships. You know, these people who've been there and fought that fight, and now they march to say, I was there, I fought it, and we're still not there. And I'm all about that as well, the political stance of it. That's a big point of it. It's also about people showing support. So, for those that don't know, I recently started a job with Barclays. And I was really pleased because I found out that Barclays is one of the main sponsors of Liverpool Pride. So I will be proudly marching with them because, you know, they're saying, you know, as a big company, we recognise that this is something that's important, so we're going to sponsor it. So I like that as well. I like that even big companies lend their support. And Barclays isn't the only one. There's loads of them. It's just that I'm really excited to be able to march with them. You know, I've got my lovely Barclays lanyards, which is all sorts of rainbowy, and I wear that every day with pride, with my pride pins and badges on it. I mean, honestly, I'm like a walking rainbow. But it's fantastic, and I love that as well, the inclusivity of it. But there is a darker side to the marches. Not only are they to raise awareness of the terrible things that people have suffered and gone through, and you know, we've got to give a nod to people like the Michael Korza Foundation. You know, that was set up rooted in something that was so awful. We're going to hear a little bit more about that later from Dom, but it's something that is there. It's a very serious undertone, and you know what, even on the marches in Liverpool, sometimes you come against adverse people. So I remember marching few years ago now. It was the last one that I actually marched on because I've actually been on holiday for the last few and I'm always gutted to miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping to go on holiday this year and I am actually planning it around Pride. I don't want to miss Pride again. I will be doing the march and I'll be taking my kids as well. But anyway, a few years ago I was walking around, I was on the march, I was like, yeah, you know, marching with my friends who were students at that point, and I was a student too, and I was all about it, you know, showing me support. And there was people with plaques by the courts, and it was all the typical, oh, you're going to hell, you know, with the F words, and it's Adam and Eve, it's not Adam and Steve, and all this sort of stuff. And it was like, I must admit, I found that it was the older generation. There was nobody young there from what I could see. It was all older people. And I know it sounds terrible, but I really hope that sort of bigoted, sort of closed-minded opinion kind of dies out with that older generation, because if you don't agree with someone, that's fine, but you know, you don't have to go and protest to them and be like, oh, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, you're going to hell. You believe that, but believe it in your own conviction and believe it on your own. Don't drag other people down and don't try and make them believe your beliefs. That's my 2 pence worth anyway. It's not something that I particularly believe in, pushing your beliefs on other people. I do believe in raising awareness. I believe you can say, I don't agree with this, but I don't think you should be trying to tell people they're going to hell. I'd never tell someone they were going to hell for not being okay with somebody who's gay. I don't believe in that, not for 1 second. Anyway, just as a funny little quip, and I know it's a bit naughty, but we did say that we were going to get one of our friends who's got lovely long flowing locks and a lovely long beard, and we were going to pay him to stand by them for a day dressed as Jesus with a plaque that says, I'm not with those guys. But we never did, but we did decide it'd be quite funny. Admit it, come on. It would be quite funny. You can imagine it with this little sign looking like Jesus. Yeah. If that actually happens, that is not my fault. I have not paid him. Honest. I've not. Maybe. No, I haven't. Really, I haven't. Anyway, moving on. So we've got Dean, who's going to tell us a little bit about Pride's history. So stay tuned, because there's more after this.
The station with attitude. KCC Live.
LGBT Pride is the positive stance that stands against the discrimination and violence that many people in the community face. Pride events have traditionally been organised in order to increase the visibility of LGBT people, promote equal rights, and celebrate diversity of sexual orientation and gender variance. It is a widespread movement that endorses pride as opposed to the shame and social stigma a lot of LGBT people are forced to endure. Despite having things like gay marriage and equal rights more recently, at least in the UK and most Western countries, pride events such as marches, festivals, rallies and parades are organised to help raise awareness of the discrimination still faced by many LGBT people in society and to show support for the many LGBT people around the world who are not as fortunate to have the same rights. The 1950s and 1960s in the United States was an extremely repressive legal and social period for LGBT people. In this context, American homophile organisations such as the Daughters of Bilitis and the Mattachine Society coordinated some of the earliest demonstrations of the modern LGBT rights movement. These two organisations in particular carried out pickets called annual reminders to inform and remind Americans that LGBT people did not receive basic civil rights protections. Annual reminders began in 1965 and took place each July 4th at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. The violently anti-LGBT message of the time led many to link being gay with mental illness. Following this, gay rights pioneer Frank Kameny came up with the slogan, "Gay is good," in an attempt to combat the homophobia of his time. You may also have heard of an organisation called Stonewall, which is a UK charity that supports LGBT people. It was set up by activists lobbying against Section 28, which we talked about on last week's Out There show, and its founders include Sir Ian McKellen. It's named after the Stonewall riots, which is also referred to as the Stonewall Uprising or the Stonewall Rebellion, and these were a series of spontaneous violent demonstrations by members of the LGBT community against a police raid that took place in the early morning hours of June 28, 1969 at the Stonewall Inn in the Greenwich Village neighbourhood of Manhattan, New York City. They are widely considered to constitute the most important event leading to the gay liberation movement and the modern fight for LGBT rights in the United States. Very few establishments welcomed openly gay people in the 1950s and 60s. Those that did were often bars, although bar owners and managers were rarely gay. At this time, the Stonewall Inn was owned by the Mafia. It catered to an assortment of patrons and was known to be popular among the poorest and most marginalised people in the gay community: drag queens, transgender people, effeminate young men, butch lesbians, male prostitutes and homeless youth. Police raids on gay bars were routine in the 1960s, but officers quickly lost control of the situation at the Stonewall Inn. They attracted a crowd that was incited to riot. Tensions between New York City police and gay residents of Greenwich Village erupted into more protests the next evening, and again several nights later. Within weeks, village residents quickly organised into activist groups to concentrate efforts on establishing places for gays and lesbians to be open about their sexual orientation without fear of being arrested. On June 28, 1970, the first gay pride marches took place in New York, LA, San Francisco and Chicago to mark the Stonewall riots, and they're now held annually in many locations in June to mark the anniversary of the riots.
This is KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There on KCC Live. We're talking all about gay pride, LGBT plus pride, everybody's pride, yay pride! Yeah, I get really excited about the rainbows, I really do. Anyway, so Dean there just gave us a little bit of a history lesson on pride, which I think is important as well. You should know where your roots come from, the fights that have been fought, especially for something like pride, which it is still a protest at its core. So Liverpool, there's loads of different prides all around the country, all around the world. Loads and loads of them. So you've got like big ones over in America. We've got a huge one in London over here, which I remember rightly is the first one that ever came outside of the US. We were the first one in Europe in London, if I remember rightly. But anyway, we are lucky enough to have Liverpool Pride, which is run by a fantastic group of trustees who all do it voluntarily. No one gets paid, which is even more amazing. And the theme for this year's Pride is all together now. Honestly, every time I see it, I can't help but sing it. It is hashtag all together now. And I am super excited about it. So, as a little look on the Liverpool Pride website, which I'll just name drop a little, was designed by our lovely John Bird, who you'll be hearing from shortly. And what they say on it, it's like, who are we? And they say Liverpool Pride is an entirely volunteer-led charity that combats homophobia and transphobia across the Liverpool city region and beyond. Our core values are that we are free, inclusive, visible, and all about Liverpool. I can get along with that. I love Liverpool. I love being free. I love being inclusive, and I love being visible. Again, all about the rainbows. So they say, we formed in 2010 in response to the LGBT plus community's outcry in the wake of the murder of young gay man Michael Corsa. Tom's going to tell us a little bit about Michael Corsa later, so stay tuned for that. And since then, we have produced an annual festival to raise awareness for LGBT plus lives. Again, it's amazing. It's well worth checking out. It's such an experience. And you can have a Pride that's... Two people going to Pride can have two completely different experiences. You can have a lovely, fun day out with the kids. You can have a passionate sort of experience of expression. You can have a really fun giggle and a dance and a sing and a good drink with your mates as well. You can have had a few of them. Pride really can be all of these things to all different people. So they say about it being the protest, they say, be seen in the most colourful march in the city has to offer at the start of Liverpool Pride. Join in celebration of diversity and equality through the city centre, passing so many iconic landmarks dressed in the rainbow. I am super excited about it. I too will be dressed in the rainbow. Share with the entire LGBT plus community and beyond. All walks of life are invited to become part of this incredible celebration and to be open with one another in unity. Now, I have seen a few people sort of making the comment that straight people shouldn't be allowed to be a Pride, and I could not disagree much more. I really couldn't. Because you know what, right? You're straight. You can be an ally. You can be all there for rights. You can be a protester. You can have political stances on it. You don't have to be LGBT plus to go. You know, you could have a brother, a sister, a daughter, a son, a mum, a dad who you're supporting. It doesn't matter what your own orientation is. It's the point is you're there to be positive and to support. And then the last bit says celebrate. Enjoy one of the biggest free Pride festivals in the country. The fact it's free is amazing in itself. The amount that they have to put on, the amount of volunteers that they need. Honestly, it's fantastic. And it says accessible to all who want to come and be proud of who they are, which I really love. I love that. You know, that's what it should be. We should be able to be proud of who we are, and it's such a celebration of that. So, yeah, anyway, I love Pride, can you tell? There's all kinds to do. There's art going on, you know, there's films, there's dancing, singing, people performing. It's not just the march either. There's always loads of stalls, loads of things you can buy, loads of things you can do, loads of people you can get involved with and talk to. So many different people. I love the different people that I get to meet. It's amazing. But anyway, never mind just my experience. Emily has got a little bit to say about the experience of Pride. So stay tuned because there's more after this.
This is KCC Live.
Everyone in Liverpool, Pride seems to be a pretty well-known thing, as it's like a way for cities and countries to come together to celebrate the lives of the communities of LGBT members and obviously the challenges they've overcome. And while there's still challenges for them to override, it's a chance to celebrate the things that they have overcome, which obviously all started with the women of colour, such as Martha P. Johnson, who threw the first stone at the stone wall and stuff. But although you think 2018 is really progressive, for some places Pride has been a new event for them this year. So a Pride took place for the first time in Lugano about a week ago, which was organised by a small group of Swiss LGBT groups, and it take place for the first time, which was in Switzerland. So about 2,000 participants attended the Pride in Lugano. But obviously, when people think of like America, they think of it as a hotspot for Pride events for massive parades. When you think of like LA or New York, but places such as Lawrenceburg, which is in Indiana, which is a small town, it's one of the most conservative towns in Indiana. Even they had their first Pride event this year on June the 2nd, which was of course a massive slap in the face of homophobic American politicians such as Mike Pence, who literally wanted to fund conversion therapy, so I'm pretty sure he did not attend that one. But as far as the UK is concerned, places like Dundee in Scotland which is going to have their first Pride Parade in September 22nd, and Aberdeen in Scotland is expected to see its first Pride Parade this summer as well. It really seems to be that the world of the conservative homophobics were dreading, are the gays really taken over with all these Pride Parades? You'd honestly think they had if you saw London during the Maid Parade, which takes place on Saturday, July the 7th. But to be honest, the festivities usually form in the London Pride as early as June 9th. These exhibitions include art ones, talks on various topics, live shows, outdoor performances and spoken word events. London Pride is probably one of the oldest Pride events in Europe. It goes back to 1972. So while attracting people all over the UK and beyond, it makes for an extremely mixed crowd of typically over 4,000 people attending, and the diversity of Pride events is what it's all about. So Liverpool Pride is definitely diverse, to say the least. While it's only over a 2-day span, which is the 28th to the 29th of June, it's a massive event of parades and raising awareness for all kinds of things dependent on the theme that the Liverpool Pride Board put forward. So this year's theme for Pride is called All Together Now, which is about diversity and inclusivity and all that wonderful stuff that comes with being within the LGBTQ plus community and being a wonderful ally as well, which I think is perfect to encapsulate exactly what Pride's about. It should be about diversity and inclusivity and everything that comes with being in a community or being an ally for said community. And with all the new Pride events happening this year, it just goes to show that although some things may seem to be going backwards when it comes to American politics and UK politics, when it comes to racial segregation and stuff, for the LGBTQ plus community, things do seem to be looking forwards, and it does seem to encapsulate just how much change is going to happen if we keep fighting for it. So that being said, these all new Prides are just brilliant, and I think if you can get a chance to go, you should definitely go. Even if you don't class yourself within the community, you can still go as an ally, and it's a good place to go. It's fun, the environment's so vibrant and bright, and it's just full of love. And I think for something to encapsulate love entirely, with no borders, with no, boundaries to it, it's absolutely brilliant. And not to be biased, but Liverpool Pride does do that. And the people who are on the Pride board are equally as diverse as the community that they're representing. There's straight people on the board, there's gay people, lesbian, bisexual, any type of variety of person are on that board. So I think to have that kind of force behind a Pride is brilliant to have. And I'm sure it's the same for the Swiss board for the Lugano Pride that just got put forward, and every other board that's behind it should be celebrated for this to be able to happen.
The Station with Attitude, KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There on KCC Live. Our show today is Pride theme. I mean, you should be halfway through the show by now, so you should know that by now, unless you just kind of clicked ahead, in which case go back, because the stuff before it was really good as well. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about the good the Pride does. So on the Liverpool Pride site, there's an excerpt that I'm going to read to you, and it basically says, "Born from a tragedy. Liverpool Prides was set up in 2010 in response to the aftermath of the murder of young gay man Michael Corser in 2008. The publication of Liverpool City Council's Stormbreak report in 2006 had already detailed the difficulties that LGBT plus people were facing whilst living in Merseyside, with 59% of respondents detailing experiencing homophobic or transphobic crimes against themselves. The report was also noted the funding of LGBT organisations within the city was very poor at the time. After Michael's death and a homophobic attack on an off-duty policeman in the gay quarter in 2009, community activists organised a highly successful vigil on Stanley Street and a well-attended anti-homophobia march. At the same time, Liverpool City Council set up the Liverpool LGBT Network, who were tasked with conducting research to see what the LGBT communities felt would help better their position. Their first response was that they would like to see the reintroduction of a Pride event within the city, at the time, the largest city in the UK not to have one, despite there being earlier events in the 80s and 90s. So that's sort of how Pride came back around in Liverpool. And again, I know I'm all about the sparkles and the rainbows and the fabulousness of Pride, but there is a really serious undertone. And I mean, you only have to look on the Pride's website and you can see there's detailed lists of support, of LGBT plus support, of just young people support, of so much different support networks in Liverpool. And Merseyside, you've got Michael Korser Foundation, you've got the Young Persons Advisory Service, Mermaids, the Will LGBT Network, Intrust Merseyside, the Armistead Centre, and these are just to name a few. I'm not going to go through the full list. But honestly, there is so many places for help now in Liverpool, but it wasn't always that way. Now we've got young persons and older persons help. We've got, support groups, social groups. I'm really proud to be from Liverpool, and we are such a diverse city. Sometimes, though, there are the odd few that let us down. There are, as with anywhere. But it means that things like that are needed, and Pride does so much good to help people that need help. It helps raise awareness. It helps bring volunteers in. It helps with funding. It helps with so much. Honestly, it really is amazing. It's not just about a fantastic day out where you can have a couple of drinks, get merry and have a dance. There's so much more behind it. All you have to do is take a walk and have a look around all the stalls that are set up. Have a little talk to the people on the street that are there. Find out their stories, because there's so many different stories and different experiences out there. Some people may be fine, they may have never experienced any homophobic abuse, transphobic abuse, anything like that. Some people aren't. I know even in my own experience, my ex was female. I've had this conversation with you guys before. But even when I was with her, we would actually receive abuse. And you'd never even think it is. People seem more accepting as well of female couples over male. So it must be even worse for them. But, you get shouted at and you get called the D word, or they shout lesbians. You're going to be bothered like that. And you're like, oh, I'd noticed too. But still, I can laugh about it now, but it is scary at the time. I was recounting a story to a friend recently about the last time I actually experienced real homophobia. And I was in a card shop, and it was around Valentine's Day. And we were really pleased because this card shop had really good LGBT plus cards in. So there was ones at unicorns that were a little bit rude, and I bought it and I sent it to my best mate, who will be telling us about charities later, and he loved it. It was amazing. But there was also one that was aimed at female couples, and one of my best friends, she got really excited. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to send it to my friends. And her friend is just her friend. She's not in a relationship with her. They're really close. They're really best buddies. But she got really excited because she could send her this Valentine's card that was aimed for girls, and woohoo, loads of fun. She always sends her a Valentine's, and her friend sends her one, and it's their thing, and it's wonderful. And there was an older gentleman stood next to us, and do you know what, right? His face could have melted off. He looked like he had just smelt the worst smell of his life. And he turned to my friend, and my friend is also Canadian, so her voice carries anyway, just because we're not used to hearing it. She's not even particularly loud, her voice just carries, it just cuts through. And he looked at her like she was something really smelly. And my friend was just a bit like, get on you sort of thing. But he actually walked out the card shop. And I've never experienced that, not to that degree. I've had silly things shouted by kids and whatever. You can't brush that out. But for an older gentleman to sort of look at somebody like that it was like venom in his eyes. It was unreal. These things do still happen, and this is one of the reasons why we need Pride, to make sure that people are aware and understand that these things are still happening and that we need to help these things. And you know what, right? If you're with your mate or someone like that and they're showing that sort of blatant homophobic, transphobic sort of behaviour, you need to go, nah, that's not cool, mate. Come on, you can do better than that. Leave people be. That's where it starts. That's where change happens, where we just pull that one person up and you go, oh mate, no, do you know what, right? Leave them alone. That's it. It's all it takes. Just that 2 seconds of going, do you not think that might be in their feelings? Or, do you know what? Just let them be. They're not bothering anyone. Leave them alone. I don't understand why people can't do this. This is how we move forward. This is why Pride is there. One of many reasons. Anyway, up next, we've got one of the Pride trustees. Well done. Congratulations, John. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about Pride, about his role, what he does, and we can see how excited he is as well for the celebration. Right, listen up because there's more after this.
This is KCC Live.
Hey, it's John Bird here from Liverpool Pride, and it's been a long time since I last on KCC. I think we were talking about sex and relationships to do with the LGBT community, and, what can I say? A lot has changed here for me. I am now the co-chair of Liverpool Pride, and what that means is that we have a board of trustees who are like the governance central part of Liverpool Pride, and there is one person, or two in this case, who are not at the top of the food chain. That sounds so bad, and I'm going to get so ridiculed for saying that. The board of trustees are all on a level playing field. We all have that overall legal governance kind of role to do with the charity. And then you have the chairperson or the chair people who have that managerial, organisational, structure part role. It's quite, it can be quite difficult, quite daunting, quite... It's a lot of hard work, put it that way. Essentially, we've got to make sure that the event is happening, and I guess at the end of the day, it falls on our heads to make sure that people are doing what people should be doing. And as me and my co-chair Andy Herring are the youngest people on the board at this moment in time, it's quite a big thing. I remember when we put it on the UK Pride Network's Facebook group. There is a UK Pride Network, if you didn't realise, where representatives from all the different prides across the country, like, share the wealth, share common practices, best practice, and how they do their pride, how we do our prides, and how we can all work together to make the best pride in the country. And when we announced that on that, I remember someone commenting on it saying, oh my god, it is so inspirational to see two young people in such a big role within their local pride. And I never really thought about it like that, but when you think about it, particularly for Liverpool Pride, I feel like the vast majority of people who get involved with pride charities are older people, and I don't mean that in a really bad way. Like, if any of my board are listening, I apologise in advance. But what I mean is, I don't know if it's... I think I'm going to definitely hit into a certain part of pride culture that some may like, some may not like, some may disagree, some may agree. And I guess it's to do with LGBT history and our culture, in that I feel like the older generation who, let's face it, they were around when the Stonewall riots happened. They were around in the aftermath of the Stonewall riot, so they understand that element of pride. And basically that was what pride originally was. It was a protest against homophobic. Pride became from a protest about equality and inclusivity and diversity. And a lot of people criticise Pride these days because it seems to have turned into one great big party. And don't get me wrong, that it is a reason to celebrate. Pride is become a festival. Pride has become a festival in the sense of we do celebrate those things because it's, 1969 was when the Stonewall riots happened. We are now 2018. Wow. Well, next year will be 50 years since Stonewall. So you can imagine why there's an older generation who do feel like the younger generation of LGBT people are, what can I say, are privileged. There's a lot of talk these days about privilege, whether it's white privilege, male privilege. In this respect, I guess that's young gay privilege? Is that a thing? I guess I've coined it now. And as a young gay person, I kind of agree with that. I do feel like there is a lot of ignorance around our LGBT culture and what those prides mean. What is pride? Part of the job of being on the board of trustees, well, definitely for Liverpool anyway, is because if you think about what board of trustees is, I won't go into it, but the way we act at Pride is definitely not how a board of trustees should act. We are basically the event organisers. We have to get on board sponsorship so we can have a Pride. Liverpool Pride last year cost about £150,000 to put on, and obviously it doesn't happen like that. You have to get that money from somewhere. And did you know that the average attendee of any Pride festival donates 23p? to their local Pride festival. I didn't know this. There was a local group who attended Liverpool Pride on the Sunday last year called Pride Pics. They posted a video about it earlier this year, and I was like, wow, if that's true, that is absolutely incredible, particularly when you think about it, when the amount of people who will come to a Pride and they will spend so much money on alcohol, so much money on merchandise. They will then, in the evening, they'll go to clubs, they'll pay door entries, they will pay even more money for alcohol, and this is, I guess, where the sense of it being a party and not a political protest anymore comes into play. So I kind of ran with that with Liverpool Pride. We have to try and find ways that distinguish Pride as not just a party. Otherwise, what are sponsors giving their money for? And I guess my way of looking at Pride these days is it is a visibility campaign. I mean, for 1 day or 2 days, depending, or even 4 days if you go to Manchester, depends where you are in the country. It depends on how big a Pride festival is. Those are the days when all eyes are on the LGBT plus community, whether it's we celebrate, we do all that jazz that I mentioned earlier, but it is all eyes on the LGBT community, and it happens every year. It's the case of why do we need Pride? We've got LGBT equality, you've got equal marriage, you've got adoption rights, you've got all these different things. Why do you still need Pride? And I guess then you hear in the news about young people still taking their lives, or people who walk down the street holding their partner's hands of the same sex, and they've been set upon by homophobic people. I'm pretty sure I read a story in Ireland recently where a young man was coming home from the clubs and he was set upon by a bunch of men because he, well, as far as I'm aware from reading the article, is he came across a little bit flamboyant, and the words that was shouted at him was basically slating him, calling him an AIDS carrier. And if you don't know what that is, obviously because AIDS isn't as big a thing right now because of the way our health organisations work. Obviously everyone's aware of the AIDS pandemic of the 1980s, which is kind of what led to things like Section 28, which was mentioned in the last one that I was part of, which led to that. AIDS has come from HIV. So HIV is very prominent right now. We've got HIV positive or HIV negative, which obviously means you've not got HIV. I don't know where I'm rolling with that. And for someone to say that in that sense, that homophobic insult to call someone an AIDS carrier, when, to be fair, in this day and age, if you're under a particular age, there's hardly any. They probably haven't got AIDS. There's probably less cases of AIDS than there is HIV because of our medicinal progress. But for someone to say that, that is why there is still such a thing as Pride, and that is where it's more than just a party. It's what, as I said before, it's a visibility campaign. It's that case of we are still here, and I really don't want to say the words, like, we are here, we are queer, and we ain't going nowhere. Yeah, let's not go into that accent. But that is what this is. When I go to people and they say, well, what is my company going to get for its money other than paying for a big massive party? Is, well, please come to a Pride. If you're curious, please do come to a Pride. But there is a big youth engagement, I feel, with Pride, particularly in Liverpool. Liverpool is seen as the Pride that's quite community engaged, and we have a big youth engagement in that loads of youth groups with an LGBT focus do come to Liverpool Pride. And I've heard stories of these young people who come, they haven't told their parents that they're there, they haven't come out for reasons personal to them, but Pride festivals tend to be their first real feeling of acceptance. They either go on and have the courage to come out to their parents, or you know, that they work on their own pace, which is all anyone can do. But I feel, particularly now, as we have high percentages of unemployment and homelessness in our country. Did you know that 23% of homeless youth, which there is a lot of, 23% of homeless youth identify themselves as LGBT+, which to some people doesn't seem like a large number, but when a quarter of homeless young people are gay, and 77% of that number believes that they are on the streets, they have no home, is because they came out to their parents and their parents kicked them out. To then have these individual young people have this feeling of acceptance when they come to a Pride festival, you can see it on their faces. I've got footage of the game of our LGBT youth groups from last year's Pride when I was just roaming around with my camera, and you can see the simple joy of being around different groups of people who are like them, and that's all it comes down to. And I guess that's what I've got to say about it. Yes, there could be more that Prides can do across the country, across the year, But unfortunately, that's not the case because of the way we work. We're completely volunteer run. Like the board of trustees are all volunteers, and they all have day jobs, and we do. Like right now, since becoming co-chair, I work 8 till 5 as a normal job, and then I probably go. I don't know. 9 times out of 10, I don't go home. I go into the city centre, meet Andy, my co-chair, and we'll go through stuff, or we'll have meetings with someone or whatever. And then because I've started working, I won't normally work a 9 to 5 job. I'm doing 8 till 5 jobs, and then I work a half day on a Friday, and I'm dedicating the rest of my Fridays to Pride work. And that's not me asking for, oh, look at what John's doing. It's the work that is involved on a volunteer basis. So obviously we have our teams of volunteers who get involved on the day. There's people who go out fundraising throughout the year, but my ambition for Pride is to become that brand within the city that is the go-to for LGBT anything. And it's really difficult to do that as a volunteer-led organisation. But that's where I feel that Pride should be. Liverpool Pride's coming up. I went on a bit of a tangent there, sorry, but Liverpool Pride is coming up. I think when this is airing, we will have announced our site, finally. So yeah, we'll be on Tythebarn Street, which we are following the roadmap of Matthew Street's Lambanana Festival stage from a few years ago, which is incredible. The city have been so supportive of us, and a lot. We're going to get a lot of criticism because I think this is the 4th festival site Liverpool Pride has had in its 9-year history. I mean, can you even believe that Liverpool Pride's only had a Pride for 9 years? When you think about other cities, other really big cities that have had Pride for tens of years. If you want to go down the little history route, like you can go and research it yourself, but very briefly, Liverpool was one of the first cities outside of London post-Stonewall to have a Pride festival in the late 1970s, and then we didn't have another Pride till 1995. And in 1995, we had what was called Mersey Pride in Parnell Square, which is amazingly part of our site this year, which I think will be incredible for all the LGBT people who were there at the 1995 Mersey Pride. But from 1995 to 2010, Liverpool didn't have a Pride. Why the reasons for that, I couldn't tell you before my time, but the fact that we've come full circle, it's a really difficult thing to do as a volunteer-led organisation to make sure you're able to keep on top of all these different event things that if it was your full-time job, you probably would be able to do. But you can't. So yeah, Tythebarn Street, incredible. It's a massive space. We have got a main stage. We have got a cabaret stage. We have got I don't know if we're classing it as a community stage or an acoustic stage. Yeah, it depends. And obviously, again, I've recorded this in advance of this publication, this show. Oh my God, how many words do you want to get to before you actually get to the right one, John? I'm excited. We have our press launch next week, which I'm dreading because I've got to do a speech as the chair. And I'm looking forward to how this Pride goes, because one of the big things with me, in the past, I was the social media manager for 2 years voluntarily, and then I became a trustee. I got asked to become a trustee after the work that I did. And unfortunately, I don't take it personally, but I do take it to heart because I'm aware that the amount of work that we put in to this event, as much as I want it to be more than just an event, I want it to be a year-long thing, a 12-month set of things. What they are, I have visuals and people have other ideas. Again, it's just making it happen. The first thing I do is I have the bad thing of looking on social media and reading critiques. I sound like RuPaul. Here are your critiques. That was the worst RuPaul impression ever known to man. But because over the years, Pride has its fair amount of criticism, and I'm one of those people. My background, I used to do YouTube, and you can have 100 positive comments, but you'll see 1 or 2 negative, and you hone in on those negatives. Unfortunately, that's just the way humanity is. It's the way I work, and it's like, why? What was wrong with that? You don't know what stress people have been under to put this event on, and year on year, Liverpool Pride always says, if you've got an opinion, if you've got an idea, if you want to get involved and make Pride how you see it, or at least give options and ideas to how you can help make it how you see it. Like, if you've got a criticism like, that was naff, you could have done this way, please come and speak to us. Our door is always open. Literally, you can just email info@liverpoolpride.co.uk and you're sorted. Because it's probably me who's going to answer you back anyway. Or I'll forward it on to another member of the team who can answer whatever your query is. But please do. We are doing a massive volunteer drive right now because Liverpool Pride would be nothing without its team of volunteers. So please go on to liverpoolpride.co.uk and find the volunteers. I think it's it's really bad that I don't actually know where it is because I made the website. It's under how to get involved or something like that. And you fill out a form, and our volunteer coordinator will be in touch on how you can get involved. You can then come to sessions before the event, and we have something for everyone to be cracking on with, whether it's helping along the march, on the day, helping sell merchandise, helping people get around the site, because that's one thing, because it's a new site, we need people to help locate and direct, and we are on a site where there's residents, so we need people to help take people home and stuff like that. So please get involved. Especially if you are age 18 to 25, we are begging you to come and get involved. Obviously, if you're over 25, by all means, still get involved. I'm not putting you out there. But our 18 to 25 thing is a massive thing, because we're doing a bit of monitoring on it. Why people like to be involved? What do they want to get out of it? Do you want to learn more skills for volunteering? Different things. So please, I look forward to seeing you at the event on the 28th of July, and of course on our Sunday, which is going to be different things throughout the city, but our main hub is at the Blue Coat for Sunday. But yeah, 28th of July at Ty Barn Street, which is our big main event. I look forward to seeing you. I am dreading myself for our press launch on the 21st of June. And yeah, I hope to check in soon. So Pride, we do still need it. It is a protest. It is a visibility campaign. Until I can walk down the street and not feel nervous holding my partner's hand, then there is still a Pride need, Pride requirement, because that way I can still do it and not care. That is one of the most minimal reasons of why there should still be a Pride in comparison to things that have happened in the past, particularly with Liverpool Pride's history, which I won't go on to because I've been droning on for 17 minutes. So literally look up the Michael Korza Foundation if you want to learn more about Liverpool Pride's history, because what happened to Michael Korza, and then the following year to an off-duty police officer who came out of a LGBT venue, is the catalyst for what happened and what made the current LGBT Liverpool Pride movement. So yeah, please, liverpoolpride.co.uk, keep up to date, and I'll see you there.
The station with attitude, KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There on KCC Live. This is our Pride show. We just heard then from John. Thank you so much for stopping by, John, and telling us about Liverpool Pride. So, having a little troll through the internet, as you do, I came across a great little article from CBC, and it's the beginner's guide to gay pride. So, LGBT plus pride as well, of course, not just gay pride, but I really like this guide, so I thought I'd share it. So, number 10, don't stare. There's going to be loads of different people. Some people are going to be scantily clad. Some people are going to be looking fabulous, covered in glitter. You know, whilst it's okay to look, appreciate, don't stare. Don't be like goggle-eyed at people. That's not okay. Pace yourself. So, Pride can be like an absolute buffet. It really is. It's so exciting, and people want to down their drinks and go and run rides and be crazy. Don't forget, pace yourself. It's a whole weekend. Take time, enjoy it, don't drink too much, drink water, guys. There's love for everybody. Don't judge, don't be that person that's like, oh no, two boys kissing at gay pride. Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't judge. Again, number 7, leave your gavel at home, Judge Judy. At the end of the day, Pride is all about tolerance. One of the reasons why the Pride flag is a rainbow is because it represents everybody. It includes everybody. Number 6, go digging. So basically with Pride, you've got the main strip, usually all the main music and all that. You've got the march and stuff, but also I know with Liverpool there's always loads going on around the city. You've got places like the Blue Coat that put things on. There are various art performances, there's dances, there's different films, all kinds of different media and art, not just in the main bit, so go dig and go find it. Number 5, newbies beware, you're about to be noticed. Quite often when people go, oh, is it your first Pride? They know. Oh, they know. And it's not a bad thing either, because people, in my experience, will usually go, oh, you want to try this? You want to go here? You know, that's fine. Everyone's really welcome, and I've never had a bad experience at Pride. I really haven't. Number 4, be safe. Alright, let's be honest, right? Pride can be an absolute party. It really can, but that means being safe. Watch what you're drinking. Drink water, kids. Pace yourself. Don't forget as well, you know, as with anything, there's going to be things like drugs there as well. Whilst I'm kind of the stance of don't do drugs, kids. Just make sure you're being responsible. I can't give any advice to anybody about that, because that's your decision, but make sure you make an informed decision. That is, with anything like that, that's what you need to do. And of course, if you're lucky, little eyebrow wiggle there, you couldn't see it, but it was there. You may, get to take someone home and, get a little freaky between the sheets and all that. So make sure you're practicing safe sex as well, guys. Also, I know for a fact that every single year they give out free condoms, free dental dams, all that sort of stuff. So if you are old enough to engage in such activities, and I suppose even for those that aren't old enough but do, safe sex is definitely the way forward. There is nothing uncool about safe sex, believe me, there just isn't. Number 2, know your history. So we've had a little bit about history already, but go into it, look at it. Even in Liverpool, there is a wealth of LGBT plus history. Places like the Lisbon, places like that have been there for years and years. The Post House, it's not just recent. It's not just Superstar Boudoir and Pink and places like that. There's a lot of history there and it's rich. And number 1, wear sunscreen. Yes! Well, hopefully it'll be a lovely sunny weekend. I've been to Pride in July where it has been absolutely cracking the flags. Gorgeous weather. And I've also been to Pride where it has rained torrentially. And I have gone away looking like Alice Cooper with makeup melted down my face. It is honestly one of my best, most favourite pictures, that one, because it's all my group of friends and we're all looking like drowned rats. We had to go to Sports Direct and buy dry clothes and towels and stuff. And I could not find any clothes in Sports Direct, being a big girl. And basically I was just soaked and I had nowhere to go that I could get clothes. So what I had to do was strip down to my undies in L1 car park and put a theatre cape that I happened to have in the boot around me. It was a big cape, don't get me wrong, it was for Rocky Horror Show, it was huge, but at the same time, Pride can go either way. Be prepared for all weather eventualities, people, because it really can go either way. And that wasn't one of my proudest moments. I've had some quite drunken prides too, where I should have looked after myself a bit more and drank some more water. And I have had some other not so drunk prides where I have really enjoyed it with my family. It really can be a story of like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different tales, completely dependent on what you want to get out of it. You will get it out of it. You really will. I mean, there's so much to do, so many activities. So also, as John was saying, they need volunteers and support. So I'm all for the good cause, fight the good fight, but stick your hand in and help out. Go, enjoy it, and if you can, volunteer. It's something that I'm going to be considering doing, depending on where I am and what I'm doing, because I may also just be doing a bit of coverage for the radio, things like that, but I will be helping out where I can. John knows he can give me a call if he ever needs me, and I will help. So do it. You know what, right? If you want to be a part of it, actually be a part of it. Be a part of something amazing. So anyway, after this, we're going to talk a little bit about the charities that are involved with Pride as well. So stay tuned, because there's more after this.
The Station with Attitude, KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There on KCC Live. Our show today is on Pride. So Pride, of course, can't be run without all the volunteers, the trustees, the members, everybody that makes it happen. You can get involved with that. So to become part of that, what you do is you go online, you can go on to liverpoolpride.co.uk/volunteer, and you can put your name down, and it doesn't have to be for a whole day. It can just be to help with the march, or to help the merch stalls, or help point people in the right direction. You can do as much or as little as you wish. Get involved if you can. If you've got the time to spare, do it, because without it, Pride wouldn't be able to run. As John was saying, it costs something like £150,000 just to put it on for the weekend, and that doesn't include like the council's part in it as well, and the clean up and all that sort of stuff. So the more we can support this, definitely the better. Speaking of support, there is so many different charities, different groups, different organisations that Pride's a part of, especially Liverpool Pride. There's so much they're involved with. I thought that this show definitely needed to include that a little bit. So Dom has done a little bit of research for us, and he's got a little bit of information of just a little handful of the charities that are involved with Pride, because there are so many. So this is what he had to say and what he'd found out after this.
This is KCC Live.
One of the great things I really like about Pride is how charities get involved in different events and how they support Pride and how Pride helps to support them as well. Every year when you go down to the march, you see plenty of people marching with banners and signs, and a lot of them do tend to be charitable organisations. Um, some of the big organisations that do get involved are the Terence Higgins Trust, which is a charity that helps to end the transmission of HIV in the UK. One of the great things that they do is they provide free, safe, discreet um, tests and support for people who are sexually active. If you want to get tested for HIV, you can do that with discretion. Their services are great. They also offer means to access counselling if you are living with HIV. Um, I personally have had one of their tests done as an actively sexual gay man. I like to get tested every few months just to make sure that I am safe. And one of the places that I always feel comfortable doing that is the Terence Higgins Trust. It's a simple finger prick test. It takes less than 5 minutes, and they are a really great organisation to get involved with. Another great foundation is the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, who have been involved with Liverpool Pride in the past, and um, they've marched with us, they've hosted events, they've talked at events. The Sophie Lancaster Foundation is a organisation that helps to tackle bullying in schools for people who identify not necessarily as fitting in with the norm, people who obviously identify as part of alternative cultures. For anyone who doesn't know the story, Sophie Lancaster was a young lady who, her and her partner were attacked one night in a park. Sophie identified as part of like the goth alternative scene, um, and she was actually kicked to death. As a result of that, her family did start up the Sophie Lancaster Foundation in her name, um, who aim to end bullying and to tackle bullying in all of its forms. Other charities, especially another great Liverpool charity as well, is the Anthony Walker Foundation, which was set up again, sadly, after the murder of Anthony Walker, who was killed in a racially motivated attack in Huyton. And his family set up the organisation to help tackle prejudice, to help tackle racism. And they're another great foundation who've been involved with Pride, who've gotten involved with a lot of other LGBT charities to work to create a place of equality that we can all live and feel safe. Obviously, one of the bigger charities that a lot of people always talk about, and you always see them advertising all over the place, is Stonewall. Stonewall initially started out as a charity that supported lesbian, gay, and bisexual people. In 2015, they did change their standards to also include transgender people, which was great. In the early days of Stonewall, they did primarily differentiate between sexuality and gender, but they have now obviously included transgender in their line of work to help support all the communities to come together and raise awareness that you can identify as gay, lesbian, bi, transgender. One of the big, one of the big campaigns they did was like LGBT celebrities wearing T-shirts that said "I'm gay, get over it. I'm a lesbian, get over it. I'm bisexual, get over it." And that was quite a big one. You saw quite a few people. Ian McKellen wore some of those shirts. Daniel Gillespie Sells, who was the singer for The Feeling, I think that's the name. Might be wrong. But yeah, they did a lot of campaigning around that, and they did a lot to support that, and to push that everywhere. It was in magazines, it was on buses. I think it was on the television as well. Another another Liverpool charity was the Michael Causa Foundation, which was set up by the mum of Michael Causa, who was murdered in Liverpool at a house party when someone found out that he was gay. He was attacked, and it's sad that from quite a fair bit of heartache and tragedy, a lot of really good stuff has come about. Charities like the Michael Korser Foundation that support young LGBT people to be who they are and to feel safe in the communities. Again, another charity that sort of fits in that bill was the Albert Kennedy Trust, who have done stuff with Pride in the past, again in Liverpool and in London, Albert Kennedy and Manchester actually as well. Sorry, Albert Kennedy Trust was set up after a young LGBT homeless person by the name of Albert Kennedy jumped off the roof of a car park when he was being chased through Manchester city centre. Albert did identify as gay and as homeless, and the Albert Kennedy Trust has been set up in his name to support other young people who don't have a place to feel safe. They don't have a bed to go to at night. They might not feel safe in their own homes, in care homes, and they run away. And the Albert Kennedy Trust is there for them to help support what they do and to help give them a better life. But it isn't all. It isn't all necessarily doom and gloom. Doom and gloom. Another great charity that does support are transgender young people and people who don't identify to a specific gender binary. Is Mermaids, and Mermaids does a lot for young people, especially children under the age of 13, who identify as either transgender or gender non-conforming. And this is a fantastic charity that I had the pleasure of actually getting to talk to some of their members at the Transgender Day of Remembrance and at the Transgender Vigil. A lot of the people who work for them, who support them, are parents, and they are the parents of young people who don't identify as the gender their physical appearance might say that they are. And these people are there supporting their own children, supporting the children of other people to come to terms with that themselves and to help them get the kind of support that they need on how to transition to be the person that they feel they should be. And hearing some of the parents speak at the vigil was quite quite moving and quite profound, what they had to say about the young people and how they explained the young people's feelings and emotions and helping them grasp a voice that they might not be able to get elsewhere. It is a great charity and they do so much work for transgender and non-binary identifying children, because it isn't just adults that need that sort of support, it is young people as well. And all of these great charities are involved with Pride. They do get involved, they come along, they march, they all have stalls, um, they run great workshops and events to help with young people and the parents and the families. And that's not just Mermaids, that's all of these charities. The amount of work that they put into events and fundraisers and talks and how they go into schools and into homes, into people's lives to help them, to support them. And Pride is, it's not just an event, it's a platform, it's a jumping off point for these charities. And it also gives the LGBT community a chance to help these charities get their voices heard and to be out there, and people can know that there is something out there for them, that there is help if they need it. There's something there for everyone. It's not just a big party, it is a lifeline to some people. And I think that's something that a lot of people forget about Pride, that it is there. It was originally a riot. It was transgender people of colour standing up for LGBT brothers and sisters of all races and cultures and backgrounds and saying, no, we're not going to take this kind of abuse anymore. We're not going to sit down. We're going to do something about it, and we're going to make something different. And that is a message that I think everyone can get behind.
This is KCC Live.
Hi, welcome back. You're listening to Amy on Out There. So, we're talking about Pride. Yay, Pride! Celebrate! I really do love Pride. I am that person that is usually covered in rainbows and glitter and all of the things because I just love it. I really do. I love the atmosphere. It's so inclusive. It's so loving. Really cool. But do you know what, right? Taking a little step away from Pride now, I also wanted to talk a little bit about LGBT plus icons. So some of them have been involved in Pride, some of them haven't. Some of them are for different various reasons, but I asked Richie to make us a little list of people that he thought was LGBT plus icons. And these are the people he found. I must admit, my personal LGBT icons, I think people like RuPaul, people like Pink, people like Ellen, of course Ellen, how could we forget Ellen? People like Elton John. So without Elton John's funded so much research into HIV and AIDS. Amazing people like Freddie Mercury, who brought awareness around it and, you know, sacrificed and sort of put the brave face on it and showed it for what it was, the AIDS epidemic. You know, it made it real. It brought it into people's living rooms, seeing him suffer. There are so many LGBT plus icons, and they're not just music singers, they're not just actors and actresses, they can be just normal people as well. I mean, for example, really important people like Marsha P. Johnson, Harvey Milk, people like that. There's so many who aren't even necessarily in the limelight as such as well. People that take a real big step back, but they're advocates and they make it possible for people to have equal rights. So this is Richie's list anyway. The music from this show is also taken from a few of the artists in this list. So here's what he found and what he had to say.
A gay icon is a public figure, past or present, who is embraced by many within the LGBT community, and some of the main qualities of a gay icon often include glamour, flamboyance and strength through adversity, and they can be male or female, and a member of the LGBT community or just an ally. A lot of gay icons in entertainment include both film stars and musicians, most of whom have strong, distinctive personalities, and many who died at a young age or under tragic circumstances, although a lot of modern gay icons often stand for LGBT rights. One of the biggest and best known gay icons has to be Judy Garland, who is widely considered to be an ultimate gay icon. Indeed, the American LGBT magazine The Advocate has called Garland the Elvis of homosexuals. The reason often given for her status as a gay icon include the admiration of her ability as a performer, the way her personal struggles seem to mirror those of gay men in America during the height of her fame, and her value as a camp figure. Judy's role as Dorothy Gale in the 1939 movie of The Wizard of Oz is seen as an important character she played, and the phrase "friend of Dorothy" became a code gay men would use to identify each other at a time when being gay was illegal. Dorothy's journey from Kansas to Oz mirrored many gay men's desires to escape the black and white limitations of small-town life for big, colourful cities filled with quirky, gender-bending characters who would welcome them, with the classic song Somewhere Over the Rainbow as being seen by many as an ultimate gay anthem of the time. Indeed, Judy Garland's daughter Liza Minnelli followed her mother's footsteps to become a gay icon along with Barbra Streisand and Joan Crawford. In the 1970s, Joan Rivers gained a strong gay following after performing at the Greenwich Village in New York, which is an LGBT-friendly area in New York. From the early days of her career, Rivers' frank and sharp use of wit and insults largely turned around towards herself made her an instant gay icon. Indeed, she often joked as being, "I love the gays, I love the gays," and all stuff like that, and she even dubbed herself as Queen of the Gays.
This is KCC Live.
The first gay icon of the 1970s underground gay disco scene was Queen of Disco Donna Summer, whose dance songs became the anthems of the clubbing gay community and her music the backbeat of the battles of the gay rights movement in the 1970s. However, she became immersed in controversy when, after becoming a born-again Christian and during the 1983 to 84 tour, at the dawn of the HIV and AIDS crisis, she was allegedly reported to making homophobic remarks, including that AIDS was God's punishment to homosexuals. But fellow disco singer Gloria Gaynor was embraced by the gay community because of her single I Will Survive, which served as an anthem for both feminists and the gay rights movement. And the Village People, a pioneering disco group, also regarded as gay icons for bringing gay disco culture into the mainstream with their popular disco and dance hits. I mean, who doesn't love the YMCA? But the costumes also represented different groups of gay erotica: a policeman, a sailor, a construction worker, and a cowboy, and a leather-clad man, because who doesn't love all those things? The fabulous Bette Midler also became recognised as a gay icon in the 70s, as after performing on Broadway, she began performing at the Continental Baths, which is a gay bathhouse in New York, where she became close to her piano player, Barry Manilow, who also produced her first major album, The Divine Miss M. In 1988, Bette Midler said, "Despite the way things turned out with the AIDS crisis, I'm still proud of those days singing in the gay bathhouse. I feel like I was the forefront of gay liberation movement, and I hope I did my part to help move forward. So I kind of wear my label Bathhouse Betty with pride." Cher's also become notable in the gay community, not only for her music, but also for her drag. Her leather outfits in the 80s made her popular with the leather scene, and in later years her son Chaz Bono came out as gay, aged 17, and many years later as a transgender man. Much to her mother's initial feelings of guilt, fear and pain, when Cher was able to accept her son's sexual orientation, she realised that Chaz, as well as other LGBT people, didn't have the same rights as everybody else, and she thought that this was unfair. Cher emerged not only as an icon among the LGBT community, but also as a role model for straight parents who have gay, lesbian, bisexual and transgender children. She became a keynote speaker at the 1997 National Parents, Families and Friends of Lesbians and Gays Convention, and Cher's longevity as a music industry has been credited to her gay following. In the 2000s and up to present day, you've also got gay icons such as Kylie Minogue, who reinvented herself musically in the first decade of the 21st century and found herself faced with a renewed and increasingly gay fan base. She even said, "My gay audience have been with me since the beginning. They kind of adopted me." First became aware of her gay following in 1988 when several drag queens performed to her music at a Sydney pub. And she later saw a similar show in Melbourne, and she felt very touched to have such an appreciative crowd. This encouraged her to perform at gay venues throughout the world, as well as headlining at the Sydney Gay Lesbian Mardi Gras, which is the largest gay pride festival in the world. Christina Aguilera is also regarded as a gay icon, a status that came following the release of her song Beautiful, which became a gay anthem and was recognised as the most empowering song for lesbian, gay and bisexual people of the decade. The video for the single also featured people who can feel ostracised by society, including same-sex couples and a transgender woman. Coming up to more modern history, you've also got gay icons such as Lady Gaga, Lily Allen, Rihanna, Britney Spears, Nicki Minaj, Katy Perry. There is loads. Although it's important, I think, to note that the majority of gay icons do tend to be women. The gays seem to love the women. You've also got actors who are gay icons, such as Meryl Streep, who become a gay icon after portraying Miranda Priestley in the film The Devil Wears Prada. I might have said that name wrong. Presley? Whoever her name is. You know, the one with the sunglasses. She sat next to the Queen not long ago, and people were like, "Oh dear, she's sitting next to the Queen and not take her sunglasses off." Anyway, you've also got, of course, you've got people like RuPaul, because who doesn't love RuPaul's Drag Race? I mean, I actually know some gay men who don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race. Shame. Awful. I love RuPaul's Drag Race, but you've also got Michelle Visage. Loads of gay icons regularly feature as guest panellists on RuPaul's Drag Race as well. In politics as well, there's also loads of gay icons, including Harvey Milk, who was the first openly gay man to be elected to office in America. He spearheaded the defeat of the statewide anti-gay ballot measure Position 6 in California in 1978, Whilst he was assassinated not long after being elected, he has become a martyr for gay rights and was portrayed in the critically acclaimed film Milk in 2008. You've also got Diana, Princess of Wales, Hillary Clinton. You've also got other political leaders regarded as gay icons. You've got Imelda Marcos, Hillary Clinton, even Tony Blair is regarded as a gay icon because under the Labour government, under his leadership, they introduced civil partnerships.
The Station with Attitude, KCC Live.
Thank you so much for that awesome list, Richie. Definitely some of my favourite people on there as well, I must admit. So, also, I mean, drag queens, let's talk about that just for a little bit as well. the drag community, especially with things like RuPaul's Drag Race, has brought so much to the forefront and made people so much more aware, not only of drag and the artists behind drag, but LGBT plus people as well, gay people, trans people, you know, people just talking about gender and things like that as well, and showing that it's not just black and white, it can be a sliding scale. I really do love RuPaul's Drag Race for that. I'm such a big advocate of it, plus it's really entertaining, if I do say so myself. I really love it, and I love how it's made its way now into pop culture as well. I really like that. I like the language is evolving and it's starting to use queer terms, which is great. I'm all about it. Anyway, that is all we have time for this show. So thank you so much for listening. As I said at the start, if you want to get involved, if you've got anything to say, anything to add, any ideas, even if you want to get involved with a radio show, let me know, because I'm always looking for people to get involved, give opinions, do ideas, do some research, whatever you fancy. So you can email me, amy@kcclive.com, or you can Facebook us. We're on there. It's out there. Our picture is a lovely rainbow. Or you can go on KCC's website and find us that way. There's lots of ways to get in touch, so please do. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, guys. Bye.